Final Fantasy has some powerful cards hidden in its bulk, so let's take a look at them. Hello everybody and welcome back into the fort. My name is Tyler, saved you bucks, and Final Fantasy pre-release is happening right now. So while you're cracking some of those packs, don't skip over some great commons and uncommons, because today we're going to be looking at the best bulk from this Universes Beyond set. Let's just jump right into it with probably one of my favorite bulk cards from this set with one of the worst names of all time. I'm talking about Poo Poo UFO. This is a 2-mana 0/4 flyer, and you can tap it to put a land from your hand onto the battlefield, and then 3, you can make its base power the number of towns you control. So obviously good if you're running towns, but I think this is just great for a lot of decks out there. I know there is a card already that does this. I believe it's called Wandering Atlas, Walking Atlas, something like that. But what makes this one a little bit better is the fact that it has flying and it's a 0/4. It's a great blocker early game. Like, I know I have a lot of decks that draw 1 or 2 additional cards per turn rotation, and I often get stuck with a lot of cards in my hand, or a lot of lands in my hand that I want to just throw out onto the battlefield, and having something like this that you can do at instant speed, very, very strong. So be on the lookout for this. Like I said, good blocker, great way to get some of those lands that are stuck in your hand onto the field. You just have to live with calling it Poo Poo UFO. A lot of the cards I'm talking about today are coming from my series Bulk Up, which I do an EDH Rec. So this is one, some of these cards I'm talking about right now are from an article I already did. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to be talking about some cards that's in a future article. So be on the lookout, and there's links and stuff. Next card, we have Realms Sketching, which is 2 blue for a sorcery. You create a token that's a copy of target artifact, creature, or land. Copying the land is the star of the show here, but the fact that you can do a creature and an artifact, it just makes the card very, very flexible. So yes, 4 mana to ramp 1 land is very steep, but it's interesting because it's not an artifact, you know, like a mana rock or something that might get blown up in a Vandal Blast. You're making a copy of a land, and it could be the best land on the field. Somebody, you can actually turn on a Temple of the False God, and you're able to steal somebody else's and utilize it. So it does have a lot of flexibility, and when it comes to just copying a land, but then the fact that you can get an artifact or creature could just end a game. If somebody plays a giant creature and everyone, doesn't know what they're going to do about it, you can then copy it, have some defenses, and swing out and try and take out the table on your own. So Realms Sketching made a lot of waves, and for a good reason. Speaking of waves, side quest Catch a Fish. It's a 3-mana enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's an artifact or creature card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you put a card into your hand this way, create a food token and transform this enchantment, and it becomes a land that taps for white, and then 3 mana, tap it, sacrifice an artifact, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, activate only as a sorcery. So listen, white card draw and ramp has gotten a lot better over the years, but I think this card in the right deck is really good. It's a good player. You're going to be hopefully hitting a creature or an artifact off the top, turning it into a land, and then I don't think a lot of people realize how powerful that ability to sacrifice an artifact, like that food you just made, and put a counter on each creature you control. That is a really good way to help build up your board and push forward a lot of damage. So side quest, you get what I mean. This card I do think is pretty good if you have a deck with a big level of artifacts and creatures in it. So give it a shot and let me know what you think. Summon GF Ifrit is the next card we have. 3 mana for a saga creature, and then the first 2 chapters say you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card, and then the last 2 say add red. I love cards that help you sculpt your hand. If you have this in your opening hand, and the hand, you have enough lands, you have enough, some spells, some stuff isn't really working for you. Getting this down on turn 3, it helps sculpt your hand for turn 4 and then 5 and then 6 and 7 when you're looking to push through some of those cards that you've been drawing and making sure that you're ready for. Now you're getting a little bit of red mana to help push you forward on casting those spells that you've put into your hand. It also works really well with decks that like to put things in the graveyard. I think it's a very good value player, and it's easy to overlook because it is a common, but I do think in a lot of decks, this will be very, very helpful, and it is, of course, going to be budget being at that rarity. Now on to a little bit of removal with Self-Destruct. This is 1 and a red for an instant. Target creature you control deals X damage to any target and X damage to itself, where X is its power. So it's like a fling, but you're not sacrificing the creature. And because of that, it has a lot of good playability in the sense that if a creature you're going to use Self-Destruct with has lower power than its toughness, all of a sudden you deal 5 damage to something and it deals 5 damage to itself and survives. Or indestructible creatures, like if you have a deck where your commander is one of the Theros gods, this is a great way to do the ability while not having to sacrifice the creature like Fling makes you do. I think it's really, really good, and I think Fling and that style of deck is something that a lot of people play, and they might overlook this as not a Fling effect. I don't know. It's just, I don't see a lot of people talking about it, and people love Fling. So Self-Destruct, I like that. I like the card. Okay, so moving on to what I will be talking about in my next bulk up. I don't know exactly when it's coming out. Just keep an eye out on EDH Rec. It's time to play everybody's favorite game. Is this 3 mana rock good enough in Commander? It's Blitz Ball. 3 mana, you can tap it for any color, and then goal! You can tap it to sacrifice this artifact, draw 2 cards, activate only if an opponent was dealt damage by a legendary creature this turn. So that's the question. You can tell me in the comments, is this good enough? I think it's good in aggressive decks, especially if your commander costs a little bit more. Early game, it's going to help you power your commander out. And then later in the game, you can cash it in for 2 cards. A bit better, obviously, than Commander Sphere, but Commander Sphere you don't have to tap to sacrifice. So it's one of those things that's on the edge. But what I will say with Blitz Ball, and it's interesting in kind of a draw-go strategy, is it doesn't specify that you can sacrifice it when a creature, legendary creature you control, hits somebody. It's just if an opponent was dealt damage by a legendary creature. So you can hold up mana and somebody hits someone else with their commander, and then, at the end of the turn, sacrifice the Blitz Ball and draw cards. So it's just an interesting little niche, and I think it will fit in some decks out there. And if you're still playing like Manalith and other cards that just are 3 mana tap for a color, this is better than that. All right, next up we have Opera Love Song. This is 1 and a red for an instant. Choose 1, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards until your next end step. Or 1 or 2 target creatures each get +2/+0 until end of turn. So red card advantage has come a long way. I remember often we were playing a bunch of cards that just exiled 1 card every once in a while or on your upkeep or whatever, just to get more card draw in red. And this is amazing. For 2 mana, you're getting access to 2 cards at instant speed. And at the end of the day too, the little power buff might come in handy. You never know. If you just need a little bit more to punch through to kill someone, it's an interesting card in general, but that fact that the drawing the cards, I should say, is at instant speed is the real star when it comes to this, because again, you hold up that mana, cast it right before your turn. Now you have access to those 2 cards for your entire turn after you untap. So I really like Opera Love Song, and I'll be searching for it when I open boosters. Albed Salvagers is 2 and a black for a human artificer warrior, a 2/3. Whenever this creature or another creature or artifact you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So what's interesting about this is it's a very popular effect. We have Zulaport Cutthroat and other things that do a very similar job to this. But what's interesting is this adds artifacts to the mix. So if you have a deck that's filled with clues, food, treasures, this is going to be very strong, because if you say you have a Smothering Tithe or something that's going to generate you a bunch of tokens, artifact tokens, just from you popping those to cast something else, all of a sudden you're draining an opponent, gaining some life. And again, it's padding your life total while you're kind of doing a busted thing, which is very nice, especially at an uncommon level. So again, be on the lookout for that one. And then I tried to practice this name, but I don't think I'm going to hit it. It's Ignis Sciencia. It is 1 green and a blue. When it enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tap, put the rest on the bottom in a random order, and then has an activated ability to exile a card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, you make a food. It's just interesting. He's exiling stuff from people's graveyards and making food out of it. Does this character in the game like dig through people's garbage and makes recipes? I don't know. Again, let me know in the comments. But I love this kind of ramp. If anyone from Wizards is watching this, I love the off-the-top ramp that happens with a lot of cards coming out recently, because it just slows the game down when you're constantly searching your library, shuffling, and all of that. This is stuff I want to see more of. And also, yes, you only look at the top 6. You don't go until you hit a land, which there's a drawback there. But it's also kind of positive if you're looking to color fix a little bit. You look at the top 6 and I need access to blue a little bit more. I need access to green a little bit more. And you hit 2 lands and one of them taps for blue, one of them taps for green, So there is a little bit of selection. I just like that they're playing with this concept, because yeah, going off the top, finding a land and then putting those cards underneath is much quicker than searching, shuffling, especially when you want to do that at operable times. It's just interesting. So keep on doing that. And that sandwich actually does look good. I don't think it was made with garbage. And then finally, this is more of a PSA. Sid Timeless Artificer is a legendary creature that buffs artifact creatures and heroes for each artificer you control and each artificer in your graveyard. And then it has cycling for 2. But a deck can have any number of cards named Sid Timeless Artificer. So a lot of the cards that say that word, a deck can have any number of blank, go for not a lot of money, I would say, but like $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 a pop, which is a little crazy for an uncommon just to run, especially if you pull multiple of them. So be on the lookout while you are going through some packs. If you do hit this card, keep them off to the side. If you don't want to build with it, you can trade them in and get some good store credit or something like that. But it also has the added layer of the fact that there's 15 different Sid arts. So it's very similar to the Naz Ghoul, where they had each one that you could run had a different art. So it made it something that people were trying to find this specific art and that specific art to fill out their Naz Ghoul deck. This is a similar thing. If somebody is trying to make a Sid deck, they're probably going to want to try and get every single Sid from every single Final Fantasy that he appeared in. So you never know. You might have one that's like $2 and then one that's like $12. So just hold on to them and take a look at Scryfall every once in a while and see which ones of the art styles are spiking at that time. And like I said, if you're not building it, try and give it to a local game, not give it, but trade it into a local game store or with a friend who is going to build with it. So thank you everybody for watching this episode of Bulk Up for the Pillow Fort. Like I said, these are living on EDH Rec as articles. There's several cards in those articles that I did not talk about in this video. So be sure to check out the one that I posted a little while ago and then the one that is upcoming, because there's some really good spice for some specific strategies and broad strategies in there. So tell me what you think is the best bulk card we've talked about today, and I will see you next time here in the fort. Goodbye.